It's amazing how we do things that don't work for years, myself included. I've done for years things that don't work. And then we find something that did work and we don't repeat it
I got him started.
because part of that can be because it was uncomfortable and difficult, or that we don't know why it worked.
To go in the right direction, but he didn't have enough exposure to the right people to continue to get inspired, challenged, and see models of what's working, what's not. And as soon as he joined the community, and he said it, he's like, once I went through your sales model and I saw other people using it, I went and experimented with it. And he tested it out. It worked. He got his first client after 4 or 5 years of being in the coaching world. And then this is what he said. This was important. Then I went off on my own because I thought I would do it on my own because I got what I needed. The surprising lesson from all the data was that coaches actually suck at giving feedback. And this is what we've learned also on the coaching skills side. So for years, for example, in our community, we ran a coaching chain that actually gave a lot of value. I've gone through it. Daniel has gone through it. Even before the community was a paid membership community, it was like a completely volunteer effort. We all got value from the process where we connected a coach with another coach. They coached them and then they gave them feedback, and we went through a chain. So we didn't get the coach to coach each other. We got the next person to coach them. So there was a specific role of a coach with this person, and then the other one was a client. So it
We
shifted the
did that like
dynamic.
20 plus times.
Yeah, so it was like close to
Round.
4 years. 4 years
Yeah.
that
Something.
it was a huge lesson that we got out of it. One, the surprising lesson from all the data was that coaches actually suck at giving feedback. Our initial assumption was we literally would say that like first we would say like they're grown adults, they can give each other feedback. That didn't work. And then we're like, well, they're coaches, they can leverage some of their influence abilities to do. So we gave them instructions that like they should work with minimal instruction. But this is what would happen more often than not in every coaching chain, every quarter, I would get these messages. Hey, I did a session with this person. I wanted to give her this feedback, but I didn't because I didn't want to offend her, or I thought it would be too hard. They didn't know how to deliver the feedback, and
Then we
and
actually gave them a framework on how to deliver feedback, and that didn't work either.
it still didn't
And then
work.
we
And what we
realized
were
that this is never going to work the way we wanted it
And
to.
not only that, like they had everything they needed, but they were so uncomfortable that they wouldn't even do the feedback. They needed
Yeah.
to spend about at least 15 minutes. Like there were a few coaches who were really good at the process. They would spend 30 plus minutes on the feedback, and that was the most valuable piece. That would actually help develop their skill sets. But most of them didn't even spend 2 minutes for the feedback part. And that was the whole point of the coaching chain. But what we learned
Yeah.
in the process is no, we need to put them in a very uncomfortable position, force them to get feedback. And that's what turned into
Yes.
our coaching sales clinic now, which is
Yeah.
so different.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's so much easier to just like coaching is hard for most humans, but with coaches, it's easier to coach more and to like extend the session than to actually stop and be like, okay, how do we do? What's the feedback? It's like not only did the coach not want that feedback emotionally, potentially, like there's a resistance to receiving feedback, or they might feel they couldn't handle it, or that maybe they did not want to give it as a client because they were uncomfortable doing it. So they just would stop. And so, like, yeah, that makes sense. Feedback is often a hard thing for most humans, and coaches are no exceptions. They are also humans. so,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
and again, this is a environment where we're forcing somebody to be there uncomfortably. It's actually much easier to go through a certification and to learn a bunch of models and go apply it in the background one-on-one with somebody and then say, "Oh, I got a certification." But when we in our community, once a month when we meet, put two coaches, a coach and a client, and there are like five, six, 10 observers, very vulnerable situation to be in. You're being watched by other professionals, you're delivering something. You have to keep in mind that you cannot do performative coaching, which is hard in that environment to do. And on top of that, then there's a client as well who needs to be vulnerable. And then at the end, you're getting feedback from different kind of coaches who you need to put in context. What applies for me, what doesn't. I think it accelerates your growth 10 times. And we learned that by experience. And then nobody taught us that model. Like I got a lot of feedback from my mentors, other coaches that I work with, some by chance, some because they were just nice, some because they were being asses. Whatever the case is, it all was all helpful. And then
yeah,
we
we just kept on
incorporated that.
iterating. We just kept on iterating, right? And
Yeah.
like trying to make it better and trying to make it more valuable. And we eventually realized we need to change the way that we're doing these. And that's where the coaching sales clinic came from.
And the ROI of that is the effect of that is that we're not only pushing, challenging our coaches to be better in business, but they're actually realizing what is working in their coaching model and what is not. Because we find out very quickly that coaches who have a sustainable business versus those who don't, they actually give different feedback. And they see different aspects of the coaching process because they know what works in the marketplace, what doesn't, what goes deeper, what doesn't, versus those who have just gone through a certification. Their model is completely based on theory. They haven't tested it out. So they get feedback that directs them, at least directionally, they're going in the right direction. And then all of a sudden they start seeing improvements in their coaching process.
This is another idea of community. Like a community also iterates and improves the experience. And not only because the people who are running the community or leading it are improving it, it's the members of the community that are demonstrating what the improvements are. And they're also sharing in that process. And so when you have a community that wants to improve, that wants to iterate, that wants to keep on getting better, you know that you're going to be able to influence that improvement, right? And so that's one of the things I like about CMC is that we're always trying to innovate and improve. But we've also found some things that do work, and definitely have found some things that don't work. And we're always everything's an experiment to see what works, and that's the way I encourage everybody to approach their coaching business too. You're going out and you're testing it, you're seeing what works, and you're seeing what doesn't work for you and for the people that you're connecting with. And we have some general processes that will work for everyone, but how you do that for you is different for. So, like there's so many pieces of this. And as I look at that, we started off with that quote from one of our members. I want to go over some of those points again. I want to read it again. I show up so I can get grounded in the presence of other fellow coaches. We need grounding. We need the presence of other fellow coaches on the journey. It is a journey. We need to journey together. That's why the Coaches Journey podcast, it's not grammatically incorrect. It's the coaches, plural, we journey. It's a verb. And so, like, on the journey with coaches, right? And you are like the people you spend most time with. That is a reminder of who are you going to be around? The people that are committed to that journey together, right? That's the people that we're around, people who will be here to help you improve, just like everybody else in the community. And it can get lonely just chugging away in our own ways to build and maintain the practice. Yes, it does get lonely. You can be a coach sitting behind your screen. You can just be chugging away in your own way. But like, are you building and maintaining the practice? Are you practicing the things? Are you staying in the game? And that's where a community can totally change the game for you. And then he said also to be challenged in the thinking patterns. Absolutely, we've talked about that a lot today. Is like the thinking patterns that go on in our own heads. We have a hard time seeing that until they're exposed in a community setting where you can get actual direct coaching, or you hear somebody else say the thing. Those things that aren't serving you well, you can dislodge them. Right? Those patterns not serving you well get dislodged, and that's really true. And finally, of course, he says get inspired. So that's something that happens every single week. I get inspired every single week. And so do our members. And then pick up and add to the shared collective wisdom. You're here to contribute too. That's a great community means there's opportunities for you to contribute, not just receive. And then you don't have to go through and spend time in ineffective pathways. So true. It's like so many things you can do for a long time and figure out, like we did. We had some ineffective pathways ourselves. But you can shorten that learning curve and that time to results by being in a community like this. So I love that he shared this quote
And and if you are
on the
actually
website.
sincere or serious about building your business, join a community that feels aligned with you. And if what we've shared feels aligned with you, join our free community at cmc.coach. You will see the kind of value that we provide even for the members that are completely free in our community. And then you can decide to join our community later, test it out for yourself. We broadcast these podcasts. You might be listening to this or watching this weeks later, but we broadcast this live to our free community. And then of course we have different tiers depending on how much involvement coaches have. If you're actively building your coaching business and you want to go towards mastering your coaching skill sets, this is the right community. You'll be around other coaches who are actually doing the work, not just going from one course to the next or one certification to the next, and they've been in the coaching business for 5-6 years, they haven't done anything, but they're actively building their business. If you actually want to build a business that sustains your lifestyle and moves your purpose forward to serve, then this is the right community for you. Please share this with any coach that needs to hear the message behind this. We're not attached to you joining the community, but we know how many coaches are, most coaches are struggling with doing this alone and completely getting distracted by all kinds of marketing materials that are not serving them.
And if you have anything to add to this conversation, go ahead and reply to this podcast or broadcast wherever you're seeing it. And we will see you next time on the Coach's Journey podcast. Thanks for listening.